Hello students, welcome to the first session of MI. Let's just go through the syllabus first. We have 4 units. First unit is poetry, where we have leather poem from Ayyo Dhamakka by Jupaka Subhadra, then kitchen by Vimla, then we have listening practice that is based on exercises. Then second unit is short story, where we have the fourth daughter by Subhadra Sengupta, Salt by Mahasweta Devi. Then speaking practice, that is again an exercise. Third unit we have prose, where we have extracts from Untouchable by Mulk Rajanan. Then we have the story of my Sanskrit by Kumar Paude. Then reading exercise. Fourth unit we have creative writing, where we have introduction to slogan writing and slogan writing based on gender discrimination. So this is all about the syllabus. So without wasting time, let's start with the first poem, that is Leather Poem from Ayyo Dhamakka by Jupaka Subhadra. Malana may be a slave to the world, but he is reputed in our Vada colony. For having tied the wedlock, I have become a slave to Malana. Ayyo Dhamakka, my stories and my pains evaporate at the himlet's boundary stone. Ayyo Dhamakka. So the poem has originally been written in Telugu. The speaker, the poet, Jupaka Subhadra, also known as Jupaka, was born in 1962. She is a Dalit woman poet from the state of Telangana who reflects Dalit struggles in her poems. She speaks about the discrimination of Dalit women from Dalit men. Her poems tell us about Dalit women, especially from the rural backgrounds. She is also the founder of Matipulu Women Writers Forum and has been one of the very strong voices for the community. Her poem collection Ayyo Dhamakka in Telugu reveals the gender discrimination within the Dalit community. As you can see in the poem is very short, but being short, it expresses so many things. It has lots of things to tell about the Dalit woman. So the lady, the poet, the speaker of the poem is a Dalit woman who is married to a Dalit man. The Dalit man is a slave to the world, but he is very famous in his community. He is very famous. But after getting married, the speaker of the poem, she also becomes a slave to her husband. She is being discriminated not only by her husband, by the society as well. So through this poem, she wants to depict the condition of each and every Dalit woman. How a Dalit woman, after getting married, she becomes a slave to her husband. She is being discriminated. She has to face discrimination in each and every step of her life. So the speaker is the representative of all the Dalit women who have to face the so-called discrimination. So this is all about this poem. Let's switch on to the next poem, that is Kitchen. Kitchen is a poem written by Vimla where she expresses her feeling about middle class women being confined to the kitchen and how their life is entirely spent slogging in this place, so called kitchen. Vimla's poems are about the tough, uneasy, and enfeebling responsibility that is thrust on a wife with much ruthlessness. You might have observed that your mothers, they spend most of the time in the kitchen. So through this poem, Vimla tries to depict the plight of every woman who spends, in spite of spending so much of time in the kitchen, uh, you know trying to cook delicious dishes for the family members in spite of all her hard work. No, she is never appreciated. So just let's read the poem Kitchen. I remember the kitchen's flavor upon flavor, a mouth-watering treasury, pungence of seasonings, and the aroma of incense. From the prayer room next door, each morning the kitchen awoke, to the swish of churning butter, the scraping of scot pots, and in the center the stove, fresh washed with mud, painted and bedecked, all set to burn. We saved secret money in the seasoning box, hid sweets too, and played at cooking with lentils, and we played mother and father in the magic world of kitchen that wrapped childhood in its spell. No longer playground for the grown-up girl, now trained into kitchenhood like all the mothers and mothers' mothers before her in the kitchen. She becomes woman right here. Our kitchen is a mortuary. Pans, tins, gunny bags, crowded like cavities that hang amid clouds of damp wood smoke. Mother floats a ghost here, a floating kitchen herself, her eyes melted in tears, her hands worn to spoons, her arms spatulas that turn into long frying pans and other kitchen tools. Sometimes mother glows like a blazing furnace and burns through the kitchen, pacing restless, a caged tiger, banging pots and pans. How easy, they say. The flick of a ladle and the cooking is done. No one visits now. No one comes to the kitchen except to eat. My mother was the queen of the kitchen, but the name engraved on the pots and pans is father's. Luck, they say, landed me in my great kitchen. Gas stove, grinder, sink, and tiles. I make cakes and puddings, not old-fashioned snacks as my mother did, but the name engraved on the pots and pans is my husband's. My kitchen wakes to the whistle of the pressure cooker, the whir of the elastic grinder. I am a well-appointed kitchen myself, turning round like a mechanical doll. My kitchen is a workshop, a clattering, busy butcher's stall, where I cook and serve and clean and cook again. In dreams, my kitchen haunts me. My artistic kitchen dreams, the smell of seasonings even in the jasmine. Damn all kitchens, may they burn to cinders. Our lives eat out days like some enormous vulture. Let us destroy those kitchens that turn us into serving spoons. Let us remove the names engraved on the pots and pans. Come, let us tear out those private stoves before our daughters must step solitary into these kitchens. For our children's sakes, let us destroy three lonely kitchens. So that was all about the poem. Okay. Now, before we start discussing, before we do the critical appreciation of the poem, let us talk about the poet. Vimla is the editor of a journal named Vimochana, and she is also the secretary to the Progressive Women Association. The poem was written in Telugu and it was translated into English by B.V.L. Narayana Rao. The poem was written from the point of view of housewives of our country. She explains vividly and touchingly the sufferings and the responsibilities of the Indian women in their houses. She feels sorry for them who spend many hours of a day in their kitchens. Though there are children and husbands, they don't like to help their mothers and wives in the kitchen. Here, the poet is trying to show her animosity towards the established tradition that cooking is duty of women and men have no role in it. There are men who have never stepped into the kitchens in their houses. They feel that their duty is to consume which comes from the kitchen, and they can criticize if the food is not up to their expectations. The women also feel sorry if something goes wrong in the food items. If any food item lacks a little salt, the whole family members look at the mother who feels sorry for the big blunder. This is a very normal happening in all our houses. Exceptions are there. This is here the poet expresses her animosity towards this male domination at homes and says that the kitchen is a mortuary. From her point of view, the kitchen is a mortuary because everything in the kitchen is lifeless. The bags, the containers, bowls, and the pans are lifeless. The only live being is the mother who is present in the kitchen. The poet, who is the speaker of this poem, she has high respect for her mother who cooks food for all the members of the family. She thinks that her mother is the queen of the kitchen, but she is surprised to see her father's name on the pans and bowls. She doesn't understand why it is like that. It's her mother who uses them and cleans them. She expects that her mother's name must be there. The poet wants to point out the male domination and gender inequality even in the kitchen. Forget about the other things. It's the mother who carries the baby for 9 months in her womb, but when the baby is born, the baby gets his surname from the father. This all shows that it's the glaring gender inequality. The speaker further says that she feels a kind of injustice that is done to the women who are confined to the four walls of the kitchen. Nowhere is found that cooking and cleaning the house, bowls and pans are the duties of a woman. It's just division of labor. When the father works outside, the mother works at home. But we see the mother working along with her husband outside, and after coming home, she has to immerse in cooking while her husband relaxes. So, why this discrimination? This is the question that again and again comes in the mind of the poet. She does not want that this discrimination should happen. Even if her husband is completely free, he doesn't go into the kitchen to help his wife. Even her children don't go to help their mother in the kitchen. The mother has to make friends with the lifeless things in the kitchen. This is undoubtedly injustice and inequality, and it makes the speaker angry. She she states that lonely kitchen should be destroyed. So this is the reason she ends the poem by the line, "Let us destroy three lonely kitchens." Three lonely kitchens means it's her mother, her own, and her daughter's kitchen. Because most of the time, for all the women, in spite of the fact that the times have changed now, women have started working, okay, in spite of this fact, the women, she spends most of the time in the kitchen. She has to do everything. She has to look after the family, she has to look after the kitchen, so-called kitchen, and other things. But a husband just being, doing the office work and all, as no takes no responsibility when it comes to the children or the other things. But we can see there are exceptions are there, but most of the cases this doesn't happen. There is so much, people talk about it, they discuss so much about women liberalization, all those women empowerment, all those things, but it's only in papers. Practically it's not seen anywhere. So this is the reason we can see this poem as a thought-provoking poem. First, the poet thought, the kitchen, it was a wonderful place because, delicious things, delicious dishes were cooked in the kitchen, that aroma, all those things that attracted the poet. But later on, when she realized the reality of the so-called kitchen, she is angry. Okay, she thought so because all those excellent and tasty food items were prepared there. She also liked the aroma of the kitchen, and then gradually and slowly she understood that there is hard working mother behind the food items and the aromas. This she felt only when she herself became a mother, a wife, and all the responsibilities fell upon her. Students, I hope these two poems, Ayayo Dhamaka and The Kitchen, are thought-provoking poems, because both the poems they depict the plight of every woman. That is the discrimination the woman has to face. It's the society and even the husband. Okay, in the first poem, where the poet she gets married, she just feels that she's just like a slave. Her husband, he treats her just like a slave. Okay, all her freedom, at least when she was unmarried, she was kind of a free soul. But after getting married, she feels that her freedom is there is an end to her freedom. Now she has to keep her husband happy. She has to oblige him. She has to obey the orders of her husband. This is like so-called gender discrimination. And again, the poem Kitchen, written by Vimla, same thing. The poet is trying to depict the same thing, that is gender discrimination. The poet, feels that women, this is the story of all the households, especially she's talking about India. So every women, they spend most of the time in the kitchen, and they too have the some expectations that the people around her, the family members, they should come and help her. But instead of inspire uh, doing so much hard work for them, they never come and sit with her for some time. She remains alone in the kitchen. Okay, and also she is not given that kind of a what you say acknowledgement that she is doing such so much of hard work for her family members, by looking after the house, by looking after the children, by looking after the kitchen, everything. Okay, and above all, what happens in case there is a slight mistake, something happens, and every family member looks at her in such a way as if she has committed some big blunder. Okay, that is the reason the poet becomes furious. She is angry at the attitude the family members they have towards the woman. Okay, again, she is she wants that all the kitchens should be burnt. Okay, this she realizes only after she becomes mother. Okay, before that, kitchen was a place where the tasty dishes were cooked by her mother, and her mother used to serve her and other family members. But later on, she realizes the hard work of her mother. She really appreciates her mother, but she doesn't want that her daughter should face the same discrimination. Okay, and she also tries to compare the kitchen of her mother and the kitchen of herself. Okay, now her mother's kitchen, the gadgets were not so modern, so called up to the mark, or modern or something like that. But in her kitchen she had all the modern gadgets, everything was there, but the work was same. The dishes she prepared, the snacks she prepared, they were different from what her mother prepared, but anyways, the work was same. Okay, so she does not find any difference in the work. that a woman has to do, whether it was past or the present. So everything is same, only might be that the gadgets have changed, but the work remains same. In spite of talking so much about women empowerment, uh, we don't apply this practically. There are households where a woman is not involved in any kind of a decision. She is not suitable, you know, in taking part, in giving her suggestions, all those things. She is not at all involved. So why this discrimination is there? This is the question that arises in the mind of the poet. So she wants, these kitchens to be burned. She wants these kitchens to be destroyed so that same thing is not faced by her daughter. It's not her daughter only, but the daughters, all other women, at least because she feels for her mother, okay, she feels for herself, and now she doesn't want to feel for her daughter. Feel in the sense why the discrimination, that gender discrimination is there, why women and men are not treated equally. So with this, I hope you understood both the poems. With this, I will end the session for now. Thank you so much for being a patient listener. Thank you.